Okay guys, so time to start with MCAC course. So now, since we are learning all about servers and all about domain, so first what we do is we differentiate between a workgroup and a domain. So we learn what features does a workgroup provide to you and what features does a domain provide to you. After comparing and contrasting, you would know better of why is a domain and a server required in a company. So first we talk about the workgroup. So there are four main points that we are going to discuss in workgroup, out of which the first says network type. To understand this better, you see the diagram given to you at the bottom. 3 PCs, you can have more, but in this diagram, 3 PCs connected to a switch. Just 3 PCs connected to a switch. This connectivity is known as peer-to-peer. That means all devices connected to one another. So it's the first point that the network architecture or the connectivity is peer-to-peer. The second point, and an important one, it talks about login. So if you can see down in the figure, you have 3 PCs. First PC belongs to James, second belongs to Tom, and third belongs to Mike. So what is it? Assume that James has his user account on the first PC, Tom has his user account on the second PC, and Mike has his account on the third PC. So now, if James comes and sits on Mike's computer, will he be able to log in from Mike's computer? Answer is no. Why so? James has created his user account on the first PC. That means James' username and password, that means the credentials, have been created on the first PC, and hence he would only be able to log on to the first PC because his credentials are saved on the first PC, not the second or not the third PC. That means in a workgroup, you can log in only from your local device, your own device, and not from other devices, since your account is only created on your device and not on other devices. So this is an important point, that in a workgroup it is local login. That means you can only log on from your dedicated device. The third point talks about administration. What does administration means? Administration means to control or to manage. So what happens in a workgroup? You've got James, you've got Tom, and you've got Mike. In a workgroup, you are the owner of your own device. I repeat, you're the owner of your own device. That means James can control his PC the way he wants. The same applies for Tom and Mike. That means each user can manage his or her machine the way they want, irrespective of what others do. That means all the PCs are independent of one another, and this is what is known as a workgroup. In a workgroup, all PCs work independent of one another. And the final point, storage. Definitely yes, each computer will have its own dedicated storage. So it can also be called as local storage, wherein each PC has its own storage. So these are 4 features or 4 points for our group. Now, if we compare the same points with domain, so you can see there are some slight differences. The first difference, if you see the diagram at the bottom, the same 3 PCs connected to the switch, but now you also have a server. This is the difference between a workgroup and a domain. Workgroup may or may not have a server, but domain for sure has a server. Hence, the network type as specified is a client server model, or you may say a client server architecture. Client means the normal PCs. The second point says login. Now, in case of a domain, where are the user accounts getting created? In a domain, the user accounts are getting created on the server and not on the PCs. That means in the previous example where you had seen 3 users, Mike, Tom and James. So in case if it is a domain, their user accounts will not be created on their PCs, but their accounts will be created on the server. So now what happens? Mike can sit on any PC and can log in from that PC. Why so? Just imagine Mike sits on PC 1. He types his username and the password. This username and password will go to the server for verification. If the username and password is right, only then will the server provide login to Mike. So now just imagine if Mike sits on the first PC or the second or the third, the process would be the same. In all 3 cases, username and password will go to the server for verification. Server will check if the username and password is correct. Only then it will give login to Mike. That means you can log in from any device since your user account is not created on the PC, but it is created on the remote server. Best example is Gmail and Facebook, guys. You can log in from your cell phone, your laptop, your PC, any device, and you get the login because the account is not created on your device, but it is created on the server. So when you try to log in from any device, the credentials are sent to the server. Server checks if right, gives you the login. If wrong, does not. So what happens in a domain is you can log in from any device, also known as remote login. Remote means from any device. The third point talks about administration. Now, here's the difference. You had learned in workgroup, each PC works independent of one another. The user of the PC is the owner. But this does not happen in a domain. What happens in a domain is the admin or the IT guy will control all the PCs from the server, from the centralized server. Hence, it is known as centralized management. The word centralized means to manage everything from a single location. What is that single location? It's the server. Now, let's take an example. I want to deny USB, that means I want to deny external storage on all PCs. Assume my company has 200 PCs. So will I go on each PC and try to deny the USB? Answer is no. It would be much time consuming. So what do? I go on the server and from the server I apply a simple policy saying that USB is denied henceforth. And when I push this policy from the server, it gets applied on all PCs in my company. Thus, it is time saving because from a single device, I can control the entire network, the entire company. Hence, it is known as centralized administration. And also in a domain, the company may have a centralized storage, which is often known as a NAS or a SAN. What is NAS, what is SAN? We'll cover it up in the upcoming videos. So what happens in a domain is you have a centralized storage and data or files of all users are getting saved at one spot, one location, that is the common storage, or you may say the centralized storage. Why so? It becomes easy to manage. Now imagine data is distributed on thousands of PCs. How do I back them up? I will have to go to each device for the backup process. Time consuming. But now, since all data is at one location, I simply take the backup of that particular storage device and I get backup of all data, all files, all users. So it is very easy to manage everything from a single location rather than going on each PC and trying to control them. Hence, what is preferred in a domain is a centralized storage. So these are the 4 points or 4 differences between a workgroup and a domain. A quick recap: in a workgroup it is peer-to-peer, but the domain it is client-server. Login for the workgroup it was local login, for the domain it is remote login. Administration in the workgroup was distributed. Distributed means each computer can be managed independently, but in the domain it is centralized, and the same goes for storage. In the work group, it was distributed. All PCs had their own dedicated storage devices, but in the domain, it is a common storage. So if you see these points, what do you understand? You can figure it out that domain is well suited for a company because it is time saving and you can easily manage everything from a single location. So does it imply that workgroup is bad enough? Answer is no. It is a scenario based situation. You will never deploy a domain in your home or in your house. Why? It would be rather costly to deploy, to buy and to install a server at your home. So you may say that for smaller environments like your home office or small offices where you have just 2 or 3 PCs or 5 or 10 PCs, workgroup is better suitable because it is free of cost, since all computers are by default members of a workgroup. So workgroup comes for free. For smaller environment, or you may say for smaller architecture, workgroup is more suitable. But as the number of PCs grow, or you may say as the number of PCs increase, domain is much suitable since you can control everything from a single location, thus saving time and making it more manageable. And since you would always aim to work in a big company, what you would require is a domain. So now in the upcoming videos, we'll learn how to install a server and how to configure a domain in that server, and then try to manage the entire domain from the server. So all this will be covered in the upcoming videos. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you guys.